Sometimes dream, I can sometimes see when I dream, but then when I wake up, I can't remember what it was like to see. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But when I was 3, I had a surgery that they were hoping would restore my sight, and actually ended up taking the sight that I had left away. And so
oh, wow.
After that, though, my mom says that I, sort of spent 6 weeks down, and then just, it was like I woke up one day and everything was fine, and it was like I never missed it at all. So life's pretty much been that way ever since.
Well, and you do such a beautiful job of living all out and not letting that seem to stop you. Like everything I see, everything I know about you is just living all out, which, I mean, I know it's a process, and today you're going to share with us some of that process that it's taken from when you started out at 3 and did lose your sight. But what was the first thing you do remember?
The first thing I do remember, wow. I remember playing with the neighbor kids really well. And I was quite a tomboy, so I loved to climb trees and ride my bike all over the neighborhood and roller skate and scare the neighbors half to death. I'm sure. So, yeah, that's really what I remember. And then I remember going to school and realizing pretty quickly that there was something wrong, that I was different, and therefore, other kids were awkward around me, that I didn't belong. And
So you didn't go to a school for the blind specifically?
Well, I eventually did half day at the School for the Blind.
Okay.
And then I would do my other classes at the public school. So, I ended up, really having a lot of fun in school eventually, but as an elementary student, not so much. And just, because at that point, kids are looking for someone to pick on. They need to have an object of to sort of harass, and so I got the brunt of that a lot.
I'm sure you did, and that's sad, but it is a normal thing when there's anything different about somebody,
right?
But people who got to know you obviously got past that, at some point.
Yeah, I think so. I made a lot of friends, and I think just, for me, it just meant that I had to keep showing up, keep trying, keep trying to connect with people. And, my friends that became good friends stayed good friends. So that was a very, sweet thing to learn, is that, even in hard times, many great friendships can be made. So.
Which is amazing.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
And were you a Christian all growing up?
So I was pretty much. My grandfather was a pastor. My dad, in my early life, was a pastor, and so we were in church every time the door opened, I think. And I became a Christian at 4. And of course, as a 4-year-old, you don't know a whole lot about faith, but
right.
I loved singing to Jesus and about Jesus, and I believed he was in my heart. And so that was a very, a faith that ultimately would be tested and tried in all kinds of ways, but it was a very sweet way to begin my faith journey.
And did you always love music then?
I did. I always loved music. My family always tells stories of me, embarrassing stories that I would never repeat now, but stories of me as like a 2-year-old, standing up on the front church pew and telling the choir they were not singing Handel's Messiah correctly, and explaining to them how they should be singing it.
That is phenomenal.
Yes. So now I'm too shy to do that, but apparently that was my initial life. So I loved music. We had an old church piano with a few keys missing that was really out of tune that the church was going to give away to someone, but my parents said that they would take it. So it ended up in our dining room for all my growing up years, and I learned to play and write songs on that. So yeah, always loved music. Always been very moved by it, and I've always loved the connection that it makes, with other people and with hearts. We all, we can sing a lot of things that we can't say. We can sing a lot of truth that we can all relate to that doesn't go as well when we say it. So
that's totally true.
I agree. I agree. Yes, and there's just something about a melody that forgives many things.
Right. It's very true.
And portrays many things. You know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I think a song must be worth at least 10 times that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you feel like your biggest struggle was in coming to the level of faith and in ministry that you do through
Mm.
music? And I know it wasn't a straightforward, just instant, perfect
Journey
for you.
No, you know, I feel like growing in faith is a daily struggle, right? I mean, it's something you don't ever, at least I don't ever feel like, I got this, you know, I've got this under control, I understand it. I think at first it was, you know, when I first graduated from college, I really thought I was going to be a high school music teacher. That was kind of my goal for several reasons. I had gone to Belmont University in Nashville, so I didn't think there was ever any possible way that I would make a living doing music, because everyone did music.
Doing music.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was that, but then also I really I didn't like the stereotype that a lot of people have that blind people have to do music. So I thought, if I teach, then at least I'll be a legit human being. And so that was really, really the plan. And I always say I'm probably the only person who lived in Nashville and wanted to get a teaching job that actually ended up with a writing deal, a songwriting deal instead. So yeah, but the first few years of that were really hard, just being on the road all the time and you know, feeling like I was such an introvert, and so learning how to engage with people, that took a lot of faith to just jump into that. But then also to not let that rule my heart or become my God was really, really hard. To just trust that God would take care of me, and that He was best if placed in the center of my life, as opposed to my music career taking that center God space. And so, you know, I feel like those are the things that I always wrestle with, you know, just learning to surrender and learning to trust God and allow Him to be center of my life. Those are continual struggles, you know.
Yeah. So you actually have to, I mean, you walk by faith, not by sight physically, but then spiritually you still have to learn how to do that and navigate that as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not off the hook on that one.
Yeah, it's like
sure.
multi-levels
you're just normal,
of this.
Right.
When it comes to the fact that none of us do that automatically or easily.
No, we are so prone not to, you know, we really are.
Right, and when you've had the bullying and you've had the negativity and people finding ways to get out of their own hurt or their own damage, and they do harm instead of that, I think it takes a different level of surrender.
Yes.
Because surrender doesn't feel safe. Being vulnerable doesn't feel safe.
Absolutely.
Being yourself doesn't feel safe in a lot of cases. And you've gotten to process all of those same things that many of us experience for other reasons, but you've gotten to process that in a different way, where God's path for you has had such a beautiful effect on so many people with your music. And the stereotype, I had never thought of it that way, but the 3 adults that I knew growing up who couldn't see, they were all into music. Had gone to one had gone to Juilliard, and actually, no, 2 of them went to Juilliard. And
wow,
one, like,
you know,
music.
impressive people.
No, they were just in a little community I grew up in, but it was...
They don't have the music career that you have.
No, they don't. And one of them sang at my wedding. She had the most beautiful voice, was not a musician. She just had this gorgeous voice, and it so touched my heart, and I felt connected. I think because I had all this internal brokenness that just felt connected to somebody that had a brokenness I could see, that I could relate to, which is just funny. That was a comfort and a love to me. And so
you have a new album coming out, or that has come out.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
And a book.
And a book. I know, we have so many.
Oh my gosh.
So many things. So I have an album out called Love Be the Loudest that is just all about the truth that our lives change and how our lives change when God's voice becomes the loudest, when His voice of love, His voice of truth is what is compelling us and driving us every day. So, and then the book is sort of it's actually the same theme. As I started to talk about the album once it was released, I realized, man, this needs like a companion piece to go along with it.
Right.
So it's essentially a 14-day devotional. It's called Love Be the Loudest, Hearing God's Voice Above the Noise. And it's,
wow.
Yeah, just basically the same idea of how does God's love actually change our lives if we allow it to speak to our hearts and through us, And it's, I think that most of us have sort of a skewed view of God in some way. Either he's the taskmaster, in the sky, or he's the Santa Claus in the sky,
right.
or he's
both wrong.
or he's like that guy out there in the sky that might give us what we want sometimes and might not other times.
Yeah,
arbitrary.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a verse, Psalm 25:14, that talks about how the secrets of the Lord, the friendship of the Lord is reserved for those who love him, who fear him. And to those of us that do, he gives us his secrets. He tells us his secrets. So when you think about God as a dear friend who longs to whisper his secrets to us, it really changes your perspective on, who you are, but also who he is and how he speaks into our lives. And so I feel like with all the noise, it's so hard to find space and time for God, but it's also so hard to understand the noise if we don't find space and time for him,
Yes.
That's for sure.
So it's both the book and the album are all about that. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that idea that God is as a friend, and if we are listening to his voice the same way that we might listen to someone's voice on the phone, or that you get to listen to our voices every day, you get to know them better and come closer with them as you continue to listen and build this relationship.
Yes, absolutely.
We were created in his image, and he wants friendship too, just the way we want it, and relationship as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh my goodness.
And that so changes the perspective on everything else.
Yes.
Which,
it does.
Again, perspective has nothing to do with eyesight.
No, it doesn't. And the thing is, it does strengthen our faith. The more that we spend time with God, it's just like you're saying, with any other friend, the more you get to know your friend, the more you know what your friend's desires are, the more you have a way of relating to that friend and you know what's important to them. And it's the same with our relationship with God. The more that we know him, the stronger our faith is, the more we're not afraid of those baby steps, or we're always going to be a little bit afraid. But if we are so confident in our relationship with God, then we don't have to be afraid. But the only way to be confident is go and find him and go and wait for his whisper,
And spend time.
Right,
Amen.
absolutely.
Ginny, that is why you are our ex-victim of the week. And we have a gift here for you, which is
you actually get a coffee mug to take home, and it has tissues and chocolates.
Oh my goodness, yum!
And these great things, because we're emotional, so we like to have fun with that. And our saying is that we use the fertilizer of our past so that we can bloom
today.
A free PDF copy of the Bloom in the Dark book and a full list of Bloom Today's coaching tools can be found on bloomtodaytv.com. Then visit Bloom Today's Facebook group for deeper conversation.